So today I want to talk about the 13 keys to the White House, or the keys to the White House, of which there are 13 indicators that's in a method created by Alan Lichtman, who is an American professor of history, and he has successfully predicted every or the outcome of every presidential election since 1984. And the way that he did this is by using these 13 keys that are indicators based on factors of the candidates, as well as um, based on things that are going on in American society and even some international policies, right? So these 13 keys, the way that it works is it's really an analysis of how the current administration is doing, but not necessarily a critique of the president that's holding office. It's more of an analysis of that will determine if the White House is going to flip in November. And the way that this method, or the Lichtman method, does this is it's everything weighed true or false against the current president, the party that holds the White House. So right now, Joe Biden is the president of the United States. He's a Democrat. He holds the White House. So if six or more of these 13 indicators are determined to be false, then those are six or more ticks against the incumbent. Then it is most probable, based on the success rate of the Lichtman method, and based on Lichtman's analysis, or the way that this is done in the Lichtman method, six or more that are false out of these 13 keys, then it's most probable that the White House will go to the opposition, which would be Donald Trump in this case. So we can dive right into it, and you can look on the screen here and see that I have I have a B that represents Biden, a T for Trump, and then a question mark. Now, the reason why I have that there is there are certain keys that it's kind of too early to tell, really, but we can kind of discuss that. For example, one of the keys is did 5% of the vote go to two third-party candidates, right? This is kind of one of the more confusing keys in the Lichtman method, because the only way to really know that for sure is whenever it's a foregone conclusion. So the election has already happened and you know what the popular vote is. It's 5% of the popular vote going to third party. So you won't know that until election day has concluded and the ballots have been counted. So I'm not really sure how they're going to determine that. But what I do know is that back in 2016, when Trump won the election against Hillary Clinton, there was I think it was a 5 or 6% turnout for third-party candidates, including Gary Johnson, who was the Libertarian Party candidate at the time. He's a former Republican, used to be governor of New Mexico, and it kind of went that way. And looking at RFK Jr. and his candidate, and kind of how things are going currently on the field, with Democrats just not being too sure. I'm not talking about the fringe, the far left, or the far right. In any case, I'm talking about what we've been seeing on the political scene as of late, where Joe Biden is kind of he's not really giving the majority of the Democrat Party a lot of confidence in his ability to lead as president. So that's going to be one thing that I'll talk about later. But we can go ahead and dive right into it. The first key is party mandate. After the midterm elections, the incumbent party holds more seats in the House of Representatives than after the previous midterm elections. So in 2022, we had the midterms. The House did flip. We now have a Republican Speaker of the House, obviously with a simple majority of the House of Representatives being Republican. So that is a tick against Biden. So that's a false, right? So it says party mandate. After the midterm elections, the incumbent party holds more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives than after the previous midterm election. So, you know, the incumbent is talking about who is currently sitting in the White House and who that party is. So that is not a tick in favor of the incumbent in the White House. All right, so contest. There is no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. That's true. There's no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. So what that means is Biden is the presumptive nominee for the Democrat Party. So I think that's, I mean, although we have not had, so the Democratic convention has not happened yet, neither has the Republican National Convention. So it's, you know, it's not 100% certain, but I mean, I guess it really is, you know, so Biden is the presumptive nominee for the Democrat Party, especially because he's the incumbent, right? So that goes to Biden. 3, incumbency. The incumbent party candidate is the sitting president. That goes to Biden because that is true, right? Third party. There is no significant third party or independent campaign. That's really not true. So there is a significant third party, just like I was saying back in 2016, and Lichtman applied the same thing because Gary Johnson was a heavy hitter, and I think RFK may be an even heavier hitter, and Gary Johnson, you know, although it was kind of torn back in 2016, I think folks really weren't sure that were kind of on the fence and that voted third party, myself included. You know, I think it kind of took maybe equally. I don't have the quantifiable data to support this, but I think it may have kind of got pulled both from the Democrat base and the Republican base. You know, me being where I typically vote Republican, and I would have, you know, so whenever I voted for Gary Johnson, it definitely, you know, I was one that was taken from the Republican vote, and then you had a lot of other people as well that were taken from both sides. But for this one, I think, you know, RFK, because of the uncertainty in the Democratic Party right now, you know, and not having so much trust or confidence in Biden, I think that RFK stands to pull more votes from the Democrat nominee than from the Republican nominee. So for that, you know, typically I'd have that over in the question mark, but I think that's kind of going to go to Trump, because the last time there was a significant third party, it ended in Trump's favor. In 2020, it was not the case. It would have this would have been a tick in Biden's on Biden's side, which actually was one of the key indicators that ended up going against Trump whenever Lichtman predicted a Trump loss in 2020. So right now we're tied 2 for 2. Short-term economy. The economy is not in recession during the election campaign. Right now, as of April 2nd, 2024, this is true. We are not currently in a recession. Now, inflation is bad right now, got it, but we are not, technically we are not in a recession, and so this is going to go to Biden. All right. So long-term economy, real per capita economic growth during the term equals or exceeds mean growth during the previous 2 terms. This is false. I believe this is false. You know, we can kind of hash this out, but really with inflation, you got a lot of Americans suffering right now. The middle class is suffering. A credit card debt is at unprecedented levels right now because people are having to live off their credit cards. Really, it's difficult to make ends meet. It's difficult to live without going even further into debt, and that kind of you know, I think that means I'm going to put a tick over on the Trump side there. So right now we're still tied. Let's see here. Number 7, policy change. The incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. You know, looking at this thing, like things like the New Deal and things like Obamacare and things like getting rid of NAFTA and putting USMCA in place, you know, the current administration has made no major policy change that is even remotely in line with those things. Kind of Biden, when it comes to policy, has been kind of a lame duck. He hasn't really done anything, and I think that's one of the major issues that we have, or that we're seeing with inflation, is kind of, he's just kind of placating and kind of hands off. No major policy change. Like, he hasn't done anything that would be considered a major policy change. That doesn't mean he doesn't have policy. That doesn't mean that he doesn't write executive orders. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have a platform and the direction that he wants to go. But he's had no major successful policy change, right? Where Trump did USMCA, which really turned economic conditions in our favor. Instead of us sending more business to Mexico and everything like that, it actually helped Canada and the United States out more, leveling that playing field. And there are other aspects to that. I'm not an economist, but that was one of his major policy wins during his administration that led to previous determinations of the Lichtman Method. But to that point, when it comes to policy change, number 7, that's going to go to Trump, because it is a false for Biden, for the incumbent. Social unrest. There is no sustained social unrest during the term. I believe this is false as well. There is social unrest. Really, there are a lot of questions about the state of our nation, about the feasibility for our nation to remain strong and united and solvent, right? So I think that's going to go to Trump. There is social unrest. Now, granted, there was also social unrest during Trump's administration, but remember, this is not critiquing the past administration, because this was also a tick against Trump when applying the same methodology to his administration or whenever he was in the White House. This is just saying that there is social unrest now isn't saying that there wasn't social unrest during Trump's administration, because we all know that there was, but there is social unrest now. So that's still a tick against the current administration, the incumbent. Scandal. The incumbent administration is untainted by major scandal. I believe this is also false. Now, this also went against Trump, just like number 8 did, but number 9 is false. It goes against Biden, because I think there are a few things, but chief among them are the dealings of Burisma and things that are going on the Hill right now with investigations about exactly how deep, and it directly involves the president with Hunter Biden, business dealings, and just how much was the president involved, and there's a lot of conversation directly implicating the president of the United States whenever he was the vice president and selling access to himself and kind of influencing business arrangements for his son and Ukraine-based Burisma. So I think that goes to the scandal did take over against Biden and Trump. So just right now, we're sitting at 6. So you can see where this is going. It looks like, this is really kind of, these are key indicators, but let's keep going here, because I have more to say about things like if you disagreed with one or the other or numerous of these indicators. We can discuss that, or I'm going to go over that here at the end. Foreign/military failure. The incumbent administration suffers no major failure in foreign or military affairs. False. This goes to the Trump category, right? In favor of Trump. And again, it's not necessarily really in favor of Trump. I'm only saying that because he is the chief opposition in this race for the presidency, because he is the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party. So the Afghanistan pullout was a major military failure, and then you look at what's going on in Ukraine right now. That is major failure on foreign policy, as well as kind of the flip-flopping that the current administration has done in Israel when it comes to Israel's involvement in Gaza and what's going on there. So that went in favor of Trump. So foreign/military success. The incumbent administration achieves a major success in foreign or military affairs. That's false. We are now at 8. 8 false, 3 true. There's been no major success in foreign policy or military success overseas. So, incumbent charisma. The incumbent party candidate has charismatic, or is charismatic, or is a national hero. Although Biden may have been charismatic in the past, he is not now. He's not. I mean, you've got a large swath of the Democratic Party that are questioning his ability to lead because of his cognitive abilities or apparent cognitive decline, and you can see that. And I think, really, again, I'm not placating the fringe left or the fringe right, really am trying to stay as unbiased as possible in this analysis, because the only people that are saying that President Biden has his wits about him and is able to successfully lead as a president, it has to be politically motivated, and they have to be fringe left, because he's just not. And again, this is not speaking in favor of Trump. We're only talking about the current president, who is currently holding the White House. Incumbent charisma, right? That's why all this stuff is indicated. It's talking about the incumbency, incumbent charisma. The incumbent party candidate is charismatic, or is a national hero. That's false. That's false. So right now we are at 9 for Trump, because he's not. And then challenger charisma. I can put that tick over in Biden, because although the fringe right is going to say that he is the most charismatic person, and let me be clear, anybody saying that either of these men is the best person to be the president of the United States is a shrill for that specific end of the political spectrum, because that is untrue. We really are having a hard time with our political hooliganism and finding people that would be the best leaders for this country. And that's really what it boils down to, is hooliganism. But again, back to what I'm talking about here, challenger charisma. I think a lot of people might find him charismatic, but I don't think the vast majority find Trump to be particularly charismatic. So I put that tick over to the Biden category. But let's just go ahead and look at the ticks that are there. Remember, I said earlier on in this that 6 or more false, determined to be false, which would be indicated by a hash mark or a tally mark under the T category for Trump. 6 or more determines that it is most probable that Trump will win the election. We have 9, right? 9 in the Trump category. So let's say that I'm wrong, that you think I'm wrong about let's say incumbent charisma. You think Biden is okay. Let's take one away. He's still 8, right? Take another one away. He's still 7. Take another away. He's still 6. So you can go through and kind of nitpick this, but I mean, I think the analysis that I did applying the Lichtman methodology really shows that the keys to the White House are currently in favor of Trump. Currently, again, April. We still have quite a few months to go until the November election, but right now it's just not looking good for the incumbency. It's looking to be favorable, and most probable that we're looking at a Trump win in November of 2024.